Hey everybody, welcome to the No Fudd Zone. This is just where I get together with some of my regular viewers and we talk about topics that you all want to hear us talk about. So today we're joined by Welper, Johnny Mandrick, Gummy Wuzzle, who you know, and also, well, Scorch disappeared, but Scorch was here. Maybe he'll come back. We'll see what happens. But today we're going to start off with a simple one. Someone asked, this was from Jeffrey Vaughn. He says, what do you think? What do you and the rest of the non-Fuds think of Wildcat cartridges? Loading for cartridges that don't exist. I don't know what that part means, but has anybody here got any experience with Wildcat?
Does he mean like loading for like old guns that were not in a standard caliber and making cartridges for those?
I don't know what he means, to be honest.
Well, wasn't wildcatting where you had guys that were literally making their own gun and picking, well, I'm going to make it this more because that's what I like.
Yeah, but I'm not understanding what he means. What do we think about it?
I think it's dangerous if you don't know what you're doing.
Well, yeah.
But it sounds like a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, but I don't want to go to all that trouble myself. But all right. I don't really understand that question, so we're going to move on to the next one. Let's see. I saw one come in here. Where was it? This was from Kevin Payton says, which model P229 optics ready do you recommend? Well, wouldn't that just be the P229, the optics ready model? Are there different variations of it that I don't know about? I guess if you get the fancier, edition and all that other stuff, but they're all basically the same gun. So I guess it would come down to whatever one you think is the coolest.
Yeah, I have the Legion. I don't think it's worth the extra money, to be honest. It does look nicer, but you're not getting that much more performance for the money it's asking for.
I didn't know any new performance. So, any better performance. The gray trigger and all that stuff's supposed to be so much better. It was just a with a little bit better finish because they put the special coating on it. That's about the only thing I really noticed. Well, and it had that neat little like corporal symbol or whatever it is on there. Edgar Cortez wants to know, what is the advantage of a 10 millimeter round over a 357, and why do you prefer the 10 millimeter round? I don't think there is advantages. The only advantage is the 10 millimeter over 357 is you can get guns that hold more of them.
Yep.
I guess so. Capacity would be the only advantage.
That was such a loaded question too. I just had to chuckle. It's like, yeah. Tell me how 10 millimeter is better than 357, Yankee Marshall.
Well, I guess it would be capacity. That'd be the only way it would be better. That's the truth with most semi-automatic calibers. The only advantage they have is capacity and ease of reloads if it's a magazine-fed gun. That's the only advantage semi-automatics have. Anybody disagree with that?
No, I've done the research, and the 357 Magnum performs the same or better in most tests than 10 millimeter.
Yeah, it's got greater potential. I know people will choose the hottest 10 millimeter they can find and then compare it to a mild 357 and go, look, they're the same. But they are not. You're not comparing apples to apples. You got to compare potential to potential. Like what's the maximum and minimum, what's the maximum and the standard for both. Not let's find the hottest of one and the weakest of the other and say they're comparable. That's not how you do comparisons.
And let's be clear, if you like 10 millimeter, that's fine. But
I like
the numbers don't lie.
I like 10 millimeter when it comes to semi-automatic guns. I think 10 millimeter is probably the best semi-automatic gun caliber you can get. It's my favorite. It's why I have a Glock 20 in my car, or had. Oh, I never did go over my update on my car. We'll do that after we finish the No Fudd Zone, by the way. I got distracted and forgot. John Heasley wants to know, what's everyone's thoughts on us winning the $200 tax stamp removal? that was a big sham pulled on people. It in no way weakens the NFA. All it does is save a couple $100 for people who want to buy a suppressor. The goal was to return the rights to the people and weaken the NFA, weaken the National Firearms Act. They did not weaken the National Firearms Act, not even in the slightest. It still requires all the same permissions from the government to exercise your right to own a suppressor.
Now, but I'm going to stay away from the parliamentarian because that still gets people attacking her, just gets my blood boiling. But I did see a couple things today where there's a couple of legal law companies that are going to file a suit in Texas based on the fact, since the NFA is a tax and they're not charging the tax, therefore the court should rule that that it's unconstitutional.
But I also saw the rebuttal to that by the constitutional attorneys that said that that's garbage because taxes can be zero. You can implement a tax of zero on someone even from way back in the day just to get a record of something. So
I wouldn't doubt it.
That's an established legal principle to do that, to have validated, identifiable records for the state or the county or the government or whatever. So that argument isn't very strong. I'd be willing to bet people that are starting that lawsuit will also be asking for donations.
Yep. Although, if you look at it, I could see that working for the suppressors where they're like, nope, those stay. But for anything SBR, there is a law that says they're not allowed to have a registry. Mm-hmm. I know they ignore it, but it does give an angle into it. Not that I trust the courts at this point.
They've already addressed that a dozen times with the NFA, and they're like, we're not keeping a registry. You're buying a stamp. And you having that stamp on your paperwork is proof that you're legal. We don't keep a registry, which is garbage, but that's their answer to that. Because the stamp itself is your permission. Once you get that stamp, that's your permission. So,
well, the stamp is proof that you paid the tax.
Yep.
So now I have proof that I paid a $0 tax?
No, it's proof that you're in compliance with the law by paying the tax and getting permission.
Right. But with no tax.
There is a tax. It's just zero. There's still a tax. It's just zero.
Regarding the tax.
Yeah.
The way they've done this, it can be just as easily undone. Like if a Democrat Congress takes over and they decide they want to make that tax $2,000,
they can easily do so because there's already a precedent to change the tax, that you can change the amount, even though it's, even though it was in the bill, in the law, it's in the NFA, it's in the National Firearms Act, which is a law. It's not just a tax. That itself is a law. It's in that law, but they've established that you can change the amount of the tax. So now when the Democrats get back in power, they can say, well, since it is allowable to change the tax without actually invalidating or changing the law, well, we're going to update it to modern times, and $200 in 1930, what is that worth now? Thousands of dollars. So we're going to change it to
about $47,000.
Yeah. So we're going to make it $4,700 for the tax stamp now.
So everyone should hurry up and buy an SBR if they want one.
So I don't think the SBRs had anything lowered. It's just suppressors.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want one, before the prices go up, you should probably buy one. But we didn't really gain anything. The NFA is not a drop weaker than it was before. You gained you gained a tax savings if you buy a suppressor. If you didn't buy a suppressor, you gained nothing. If you're just an everyday citizen who doesn't buy a compressor, you don't have any more, or suppressor, you don't have any more rights than you had the day before they passed the law. If you decide you want to buy one, all you're doing is saving a little bit of money. And that's not even really the truth either, because a lot of the shops paid the suppressor charge for you, which was really just them lowering the price of the suppressor and then using the extra to pay your tax. Now they won't do that. So you'll be paying just the same amount of money. They won't cover the tax for you. Let's see here. What did we have coming in? I don't see any. It's hard for me to really keep track of questions while we're doing this. One benefit to the new Smith & Wesson 610 is it also safely shoots 40 Smith & Wessons. Save the 40. Well, I mean, it uses moon clips, so it should. I mean, I don't like it when you have, the only problem I have with those is since your bullet is so far back in the chamber from the forcing cone, I mean, there could potentially be long-term wear issues with that. But other than that, you know, why would you want to shoot 40 when you can shoot 10? That's not like there's a whole lot of price difference. Let's see here. On occasion, I carry two guns, Glock 23 and SIG 232. Do any of you ever carry two guns, and why? I have an extra gun in my car. I don't ever carry an extra one on me. Do any of you all ever carry an extra gun on you?
No, because to be honest with you, I'm in a hot, humid climate, and I don't want anything else stuck to my body.
Yeah, me either. Anybody else carry a second gun on them? You can say no. So I know.
No,
I think about it a lot.
I don't even ever consider it. It's never anything I really want to do. One gun's enough. It's enough of an inconvenience and an effort to carry one.
And the other part is if you're carrying two and you ever have to use one of them, the fact that you've got two of them is going to get brought up and probably hang you out to dry.
They'll just be like he's paranoid. But luckily, there's, people talk about things like that all the time. Like, oh, they're going to go after you for that. Well, if they go after that, they're going to have some evidence or else it's going to get thrown out of court. A lot of these things, especially back in the day, it used to be they could bring it. It's like when they use the fish example. They're like, well, they brought up caliber, and caliber doesn't have any, is irrelevant to whether the shoot was good. But, they didn't just bring up caliber.
Yep.
If you actually read the whole suit, they brought up that he went and got a 10 millimeter gun and then went back to the place he knew the person was that he'd had problem with and waited till they gave him trouble again, and then he shot him. So there was a lot more there than just the caliber. But the actual issue of caliber got tossed out. They said that's irrelevant.
And another thing they like to do is mention if you've made any modifications to the gun and use that against you as the defendant. Like, what's that got to do with anything?
No, and that will usually only come into, and they'll say like cosmetic changes. No, cosmetic changes will be irrelevant. If you got even with decent attorney, it'll get thrown out of court. What changes you make to your gun that would really come with liability is if you alter the way the gun functions or you take away a safety level and you shoot someone unintentionally, well, then you'll face extra liability because you made that gun unsafe by taking off a safety or changing the way it functions. But even if you disable, like if you take your PX4 Storm and you say, okay, it comes with a manual safety decocker, I'm taking that little ball and indent out of there, that little spring and ball out of there, and now it's just a decocker. And you shoot somebody. Well, unless you did it accidentally, you're not going to have any extra liability. People will try to say, oh, you'll have extra liability now because you didn't have a safety. If you were intentionally firing under just cause, it doesn't matter if you had a safety. Doesn't matter if the safety worked or if you took it off. If you fired intentionally, if you fire unintentionally and you say, oh, I didn't know the safety wasn't working and you disabled the safety, well, then you've got liability. But if it's a good shoot and you're intentionally firing in self-defense, things like that generally get thrown right out of court.
Yeah. And I know that when the Springfield Hellcat initially came out, a lot of people were replacing the trigger with an Apex trigger. And then there was some debate as to whether or not that could be used against them in court. So,
no, just because your trigger was lighter. Well, if you intentionally fired the gun, doesn't matter if it's lighter. If you accidentally fired the gun, well, then that's why you never, ever, just in any circumstances. Well, first off, don't share your story with the police, period, because they're not your friend. They want to put you in jail. But if you ever shoot someone, the last thing you ever want to say is, I didn't mean to. Because if you say I didn't mean to, well, that opens you up to a lot of liability. Your story better be, I was in fear for my life and I intentionally did what I had to do to stop the threat. Anything beyond that is going to be used to eat you up.
Yeah.
How do you think the passing of the big, beautiful bill will affect suppressor sales until it goes into effect. Will sales drop because everyone is waiting on the free stamp? Well, I'm sure it will, but it goes into effect relatively quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Does anybody know when it goes into effect?
It's weird because it's a regulation and not a law.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured it's easier and quicker to change those, but I don't know.
If I understand it correctly, the portions that, like you just said, are regulation, or they don't have a specific date in the bill. They went into effect the second Trump signed it. But a lot of that stuff, like some of the cutbacks, those are pushed out till 2027. The theory there being is they're all the stuff that's going to tank the economy. They've moved out so that if they lose midterms, they can then blame the Democrats.
Yeah, or it'll just get reversed and never happen.
Yeah, or protect them in the midterms because look, they said all of this was going to go away and it didn't.
Yeah,
we told you it wouldn't.
Well, they couldn't have it go into effect before midterms, but it is backfiring them in a way because a lot of hospital stocks and hospitals that count on federal aid are already just going ahead and closing because they know the money is going to stop flowing and they're already in the red. And they don't want to go further in the red. So it's already biting some politicians in the ass because healthcare services are shutting down in red states. So even though they pushed it out, it's having some effect now. It'll have a lot more effect in 2027, but that's having some effect now. They tried to, and a lot of it's going to be held up in court. Like a lot of anything that involves EPA changes or Medicaid changes or anything that's going to be in court and may never go into effect.
Mm-hmm. And I think that maybe the conservatives have overplayed their hand a bit because the idea was, well, if you just get all the undocumented people out, then the price of healthcare will be manageable for indigent U.S. citizens. But that's an oversimplification.
And there's no real evidence of that either. There's no evidence that illegal immigration is having a massive effect on healthcare costs. All the evidence points to the problem with healthcare costs is greed by the insurance companies and the medical companies.
Yeah. One of the classic things that you'll hear people say is, oh, it costs $20,000 to have a baby in a hospital, and the undocumented women are having these babies and not paying for them. So then all that money comes from the taxpayers.
Well, it doesn't actually cost that. No one's actually paying that. When an undocumented woman has a baby in a hospital, the money that they would charge the person with insurance isn't really what it costs. But what they do is they write that off on their own fees. They take it as profit and they take it off of their taxes that they pay. It's not coming from your taxes. It's actually coming off their taxes, what they pay. It's saving them money.
And see, but normally they would bill the insurance company all of that, right?
Yeah, and they overbill anybody that's got insurance. That's why when you got insurance and you get a bill and it's like $500 for aspirin, yeah.
Well, but that's the other part is they'll bill the insurance company, and the insurance company says, you want to charge me $10,000 for that? I'll give you $6,000. Mm-hmm. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
So,
and also what they really overbill is Medicaid and Medicare. When it's the government paying the bill, they overcharge like crazy. If you ever see some of the Medicaid or Medicare charges that come through on, I'm married to a hospice nurse, so they see a lot of this stuff. It's ridiculous. Like insurance companies will charge Medicaid for a wheelchair that you can go down and buy. Who's rattling papers?
Not me.
I think it was John Mandrick. For a wheelchair that you can actually just walk down to the wheelchair supply and buy for $250, they'll charge $10,000 for it.
Whoa.
So
you can get a wheelchair at Home Depot for $110.
Yeah, they'll charge up to like $10,000 for a wheelchair. So it's just crazy. They'll rent you a wheelchair for like $500 a day.
Shoot, put me in an office chair and roll me around. I don't care.
It's amazing some of the things that they bill Medicaid. The biggest cost of Medicaid is not undocumented workers. It's greed from insurance and medical providers. That's the biggest cost of medical expenses in this country. Medical companies.
We had a low-cost clinic that went out of business during the Obama years because people were showing up thinking they were covered under the Affordable Care Act, and they didn't even understand what it was. The truth was almost all of them were eligible for Medicaid, They just had to get put into the process. They didn't have this Obamacare as they thought they had to cover.
Well, a lot of people thought it was you got insurance. They gave everybody insurance. They just made it Obamacare. All it was to break it down to its simplest thing, Obamacare was a huge giveaway to the insurance industry, because it basically told the insurance industry, hey, if you offer some of these lower cost policies to people that still have any modicum of care whatsoever, we'll make it up to you by making it to where everyone has to have insurance. Mm-hmm. So if you, instead of selling 10 policies, at $1,000 a month, you'll sell 15 at $800 a month, and you still make a lot more money.
Yes, and then these people, a lot of them were not even covered if they couldn't meet their deductible. So in a sense, they were not insured. Yeah,
well, deductibles are horrible in a lot of people's policies. My son has insurance from his work because he's too old to be on our policy now, and his deductible is like $700. So anytime he would need to go to the clinic for anything, he has to pay the first $700. That's pretty high for every time you want to go to the hospital because you have a cold or the flu or something. And it is not just a total deductible. It's like the way they've got it worded. It's like every time you have a hospital visit, you're responsible for the first amount of money until you meet this deductible. And that means, you're just never going to ever meet your deductible, but still, because the deductible is really high.
Yeah.
But who can afford $700 out of their pocket every time they go to the emergency room?
Just won't go. A lot of people won't.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons disease spreads and people get sick, and then it costs even more money to care for them when they're old and unhealthy. And we're not making fun of Gummy Wuzzle, but he don't even have the diabetes. I'm like, why does that motherfucker not have diabetes?
Yes, he is making fun of me. Don't you believe that?
Do we have some fake diabetes in here?
Yeah. He doesn't have it. He says he doesn't have it.
Mine is real.
My family has it all.
Yeah, I have it, and I look at that motherfucker, and I'm like, he looks like the diabetic poster child. Why does he not have diabetes? Makes me mad.
I think he should be the one mad. Diabetes has decided he doesn't want Gummy.
Yeah, it's like, no, thank you. They said,
I have serious self-esteem issues. What's wrong with me that diabetes don't want to get up in here? I'm just saying.
Yeah, that is an issue, I guess. Let's see here. Where were we at? I think that was it for the questions. Did any of you guys have any questions you wanted to cover?
Well, I wanted to discuss or just let you know that I understand why you don't like to go into the city. I mean, in the span of 7 months, you've had a revolver confiscated, and now you've recently had your car towed. So you want to stay at home, by all means. Look at what you're missing out on. Confiscated gun, towed car.
The confiscated gun was totally my fault. I should have just walked away and let them get their ass beat. But
so tell us about the car. If we got no questions, you can do the car.
Okay, well, I'll tell about the car. Like I said, I got good news, bad news, and then on that, I got good news, bad news. I called around today. I called the police. I talked to them. And they didn't have any record of my car being towed, but they gave me the numbers of 2 different towing companies that said if you got towed in that area, these are the ones that did it. And it could have been the private business or something around there that called on you. So I called both of them. Neither of them have any record of towing my car yesterday. So it looks like the good news is my car wasn't towed. Bad news is that probably means it was stolen, because I was talking to one of the guys at the towing company, and he says, we had several cars stolen in the last week, and we think the problem is, according to the police, that one of the big car theft rings from up in Vancouver, BC, and Seattle have come down to Portland for the week and are rounding up cars. And I was like, well, I don't know why they would want my car. It's a little Subaru WRX. And turns out the Subaru WRX is like the #1 most desired car right now for thieves. I would have never guessed that, but you can't get them. The WRX TRs and stuff, they are unobtainium. You can't buy them now. So they're like more desirable than, Honda Civics as far as car thieves are stolen. So it looks like my car was stolen. So I went ahead and filed the police report, contacted my insurance company. And the good news is I do have full replacement insurance. I have a rider on my policy that says I get MSRP basically of my car back. I didn't even pay MSRP for it. Don't owe MSRP on it, but I get MSRP back for it being stolen. If it's not recovered or anything, full MSRP. Bad part is 30 days. You got to wait 30 days before they'll pay off because they got to see if it'll be recovered first. And if it's not recovered in 30 days, they consider that it's never going to be recovered, but you have to wait 30 days before the policy pays off. So now I'm just 30 days without a car. But I did get good news is that I do have loaner coverage, that I can get a loaner car for the 30 days, and they will cover it up to a certain amount a day. So I can get a rental car if I want to, but I don't really see any need in it because I have my truck. But so yeah, there it didn't get towed. It looks like it got stolen. And the good news is my Glock was not in it because Caden shot it the day before, and it's still sitting on the table right there, waiting to be cleaned. So at least they didn't get my Glock. They did get my get home bag though. It's got like my camping equipment, road flares, and stuff like that in it, and my canned water and stuff like that. But they didn't get my Glock.
Well, that is good news. Oh, you can
Your
rent.
car.
You think you're going to buy?
I don't know. Right now, I'm just pissed about.
Did they get your Ruger carbine?
No, I don't have anything in the trunk right now for the.
Oh, okay. I thought you had
I
one of
want
those.
a Ruger carbine. I mean, I have this one. I have the 9mm that I used to put in there. But
Don't touch it.
I haven't put it in there in a long time. I've kept it out here. You know, I used to have it. It comes in that little case where it breaks down into it. It's in a case, and I had it in there. But when I put the rifle racks out, I took it out because I was going to get a 10mm for in there. And I put it back together and put it on the shelf here. And I've never bought one for my trunk yet. So that's why I kept saying I want to find one that's 10mm that folds up, etc. But, you know, can't get it here right now anyway. But I'm hoping the law will change by the time I get around to getting one. But, yeah, so really shitty day yesterday. I liked that car. That car was a lot of fun. I had put a lot of. The only thing is, I won't get the money I put into it, like the clear brawl or the paint protection. I put paint protection all over the whole car. That was $2,000. I did graphics on the car. That was another $1,000. You know, I put a lot of add-ons on the car on top of the MSRP, and I don't know if I'll get that back. Because I put full skid plates underneath. I put approach mirrors and all this other stuff on it. And
now, what happens if the thieves are foolish enough to provide the VIN number to an auto parts store?
Well, I guess they'd get caught, I would hope. But they won't. They'll take it up. And the police officer I spoke to today, when I told him about it, I heard that the people were coming down from Vancouver, BC, and Seattle. He said, yeah, they come down and they get them. He says sometimes they'll even bring a car carrier, like a semi truck down, and they'll load them all into it and haul them back up to Vancouver, BC, or back up to Seattle and strip them down. Apparently there's a lot of strip shops up there in Olympia and Seattle because of the ports and stuff. But he said they'll usually strip them down to parts, ship them overseas or wherever they're going to ship them to and put them back together.
What's funny to me is being that I live up that way, is that we keep getting told that no, it's the car thieves coming up from Portland and Oregon that's causing all the, what are they passing each other on I-5?
Probably. But I didn't know Vancouver, BC was a hotbed of car thieves. But apparently Vancouver, BC, and British Columbia, Canada, like a hotbed for car thieves, like some of the biggest car thief rings in the country. I did not know that. And Victoria, BC. Victoria is such a nice place. Who would have thought there was a car thief ring there? Yeah. But I guess it's everywhere. But back when I was in the military, one of the things I investigated more than anything else was car thefts. And it was usually by military service people who stole them and shipped them overseas. Because back in the day, you could ship over American cars and make a fortune off of them. So you had supply sergeants making $1 million a year, and you had to go investigate why. It's like, you're an E5, you've been one for 12 years, and somehow you've got, an offshore account with $400,000 in it. What's going on? Who's playing with their gun?
Somebody's dry firing.
Is it Johnny Mandrick again? What's he doing?
I would never do anything to hurt your podcast, Yankee.
Well, the fact we ain't gonna talk about kind of hurts it. Let's see here. Are we even out? We're almost out of time, but let me see if we got any questions that came in here. Christian Carlson weighed in and he said, get a kill switch like Revelco. I may have a few guns behind lock and key in the truck, but they will find it hard to steal the truck. As far as like the things like my car, people are like, well, can you track it and all that stuff? I'm like, yes, the dealer can track it. But apparently it's been turned off. The car's got the battery disconnected and all this other stuff. So, and that's apparently typical that they disconnect the batteries and transport them, on a carrier or something when they're a big ring like this, because they know that the cars can be tracked. So they power them down completely, take the batteries out of them, etc. But then again, the fact that it's not right now, it's not showing up on the app and the search thing, because it does have that where the dealer installed something in it where they can recover it if it gets stolen or we don't pay for it. The fact that it's not showing up means it probably wasn't just, like kids joyriding, stealing it or something like that, because they wouldn't.
Yeah. I wonder if you had put an Apple tag in there, what would the range be?
I don't know. I've never done it though, but I have Apple tags. I never use them for anything. I bought them for Zyler. Caden has one on his motorcycle keys, and Zyler has one on his car keys, and we have used them before to find them. So
I put some on my nieces when they were very young. So if we lost them in the amusement park, we could find them.
I mean, actually on them themselves.
Well, like on a little bracelet. Yeah, it didn't like fuse it to the skin or anything.
Children.
Yeah.
Well, are you okay over there?
I haven't heard him all chat. I don't think he's awake.
Is he being abused?
I think it's Welper. It would be justified if it was.
Blink twice if you need help.
Uh-oh.
Is Gummy Wuzzle touching you inappropriately or anything? Because they're next to each other in the chat.
His mic's not working, he says. Okay.
Oh, his mic's not working. Where did he say that at?
Private
Over
chat.
in the chat.
Oh, I'm not looking at the private chat. I never pay attention to the private chat. Just confirmed that SBRs are also zero tax. Well, that's good. Still doesn't do us any good, but that's good news. Well, as good a news as the other one. I mean, I don't plan on getting any, but I mean, they did that free tax there for a while. Remember when you had a gun that had a pistol brace, you could get a free SBR tax. Now I guess you can just do that.
Yeah.
You'll still have to go through all the paperwork and shit, but it's like that's forever now. Because remember, they did that once already. We already had a time frame where you had to pay no dollars to get your SBR tax.
Mm-hmm.
They did that as kind of a sorry we screwed up on the pistol brace thing. See,
I kind of want to get all my all my guns and go, I want this to be an SBR and I want this to be an SBR.
Well, I have a couple that I want an SBR, and if I can do it now for $0, I'll do it. I'll fill out the paperwork and send it in. Because I've got that PTR and it's got a pistol brace on it. I would much rather put a real stock on it. I think that's the only one that I have. That one's already SBR'd. That one's SBR'd. That's SBR'd. I don't think I have anything else I want to SBR, but yeah, I'll send in for that one. I meant to do it when they were doing the amnesty there for a while, but I never ever got around to it because I was lazy as fuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some people in the chat were describing how they would use their Apple tags. And one of them said they'd put it in the piercing of someone's ear.
Ugh, gross. I've seen these people all the time with those. You ever go into a business and there's someone in there and their earlobes are like hanging down to here because they usually have big old gauges in it, and the place they work at won't let them keep them in while they're working. And I'm like, let them keep the fucking gauges in their ear. That's way less gross than seeing these big hanging earlobes.
Oh, yeah. It looks really awful.
It is. I'm like, why do people feel the need to deform themselves?
When I was a teenager, that was very popular, and I was hoping that by the time I got to this point in my life, it would be gone, but no such luck.
See, that was never a thing when I was a kid. The gauges in the ear was never, ever, ever a thing.
It was associated with punk rockers, and now it's just more mainstream.
I was literally the first guy in my high school to get an earring.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Because I was working part-time at the Murphy's Mart, and one of the girls in there was like, "You should let me pierce your ear." And I'm like, "Why would I let you pierce me?" Well, boys get their ears pierced these days. So my left ear is still pierced to this day. But I was the first one to ever in our high school get my ears pierced.
Back in the 80s.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was back in the 80s when, at least around where I went to school, wearing an earring was waving a flag of your sexual orientation, or so it seemed.
Apparently, it was if you did it in a certain ear, but of course, the ear I did it.
That's what I heard.
But of course, in West Virginia, it didn't matter. You put a piercing in either ear, you might as well have said, "I'm a girl." Although, luckily, I was not a person who was bullied or easily intimidated when I was in school. I mean, I was 6'1" and mean as hell, and I come from a family of people that would. Everybody knew that, I might be able to beat his ass. I might be able to beat Marshall's ass. But if I did, his two uncles that, are well known for being willing and able to break knees will come after me. So I never really have to worry about it. So I had an advantage.
Yeah.
And plus people knew I'd fight. There was no doubt at all if I would fight. Usually people like to pick on people that they think won't fight. There was no doubt. I was one of these people that if you push me, I had a bad temper, and next thing you know, I'll be on your back with your ear in my mouth trying to bite your ear off. So I was not a calm person when I was young. I was relatively mean, and my sister was even meaner. I mean, I've told the story a lot of times where I got in trouble. I couldn't fight anymore, but I was safe because everybody knew my sister would kill them. And she threatened to kill someone with a butter knife in the cafeteria for me one time. So it was a long story, but it was wild. Let's see here. I'm trying to read and talk at the same time here, and I'm just stammering because I can't pay attention to what I'm doing. But we need to in these situations, we need to start having Welper like field questions and stuff. He's the secretary, but now he's not even talking.
Yeah, I thought he was incapacitated or possibly dead. He was so quiet.
I just don't know if I buy his story that his mic's not working.
You know what? Who used to say that to me were the scammers, the online scammers. Their mic was always conveniently broken, or they couldn't Skype with me. I was like, yeah, I know what's going on here. You don't all have broken phones and broken speakers.
I think he's confusing scammers with young girls. Like, you're not really a 17-year-old girl, are you? Oh, my mic's broken, or I'd prove it. But I think we're out of time, so I want to thank everybody for coming today, even though we didn't get a lot of questions to talk about today. Remember, people, make up some good questions next time. And plus, it's hard for me to find them and read them and everything. We got to work out something where, like, somebody's filtering through these, because I'll have to give, like, I'll have to forward them all to Welper at the beginning of the chat, and he can go through them for us.
I offered to anyway. Never mind.
Oh, well, you can do it too. I don't discriminate.
Yeah, and if it's convenient for you, you might want to get some more air tags before the next time.
I've got some sitting in there right now. I just
program them. Yeah.
I am a person, though, since it is stolen now, more than likely, I would much rather just never see it again. I don't want to go retrieve it because, it's going to either been damaged or stripped or something taken from it, or, they've done something to it. And I don't want it back. So making it easier to find it is bad for me. I would just rather it just disappear forever, never be seen, me get my insurance and get a different car and move on.
Yeah.
Because, it's not like it was a paid for car. If it was a paid for car, that would be something different. But it was a car that I just financed 8 months ago. So I ain't that far into it. I'd just rather it be gone for good.
And what are your thoughts about ever parking in that area again? Is that something you would do again?
Yeah, but I'll park in the parking garage.
Mm-hmm.
So usually I park in the parking garage because if I'm going to pay, I want to be in a locked building.
Mm-hmm.
but it was, since the meters weren't working because it was a holiday, I just parked out on the street because we were just going to be a short time. I usually park in the parking garage down there. Because, you know, they can't steal your car out of the parking garage. You can't bring a tow truck in there and pull it out. Apparently, these people just go around with these lift trucks, and they actually just tow your truck away. Act like they're a tow truck company.
Wow.
They tow your car away. Or he said, you know, they can just get in and take them too. But yeah, I would just rather not get it back. I kind of like the next 30 days, I'm worried. I hope they don't find it. You know, because I don't want to deal with the getting it fixed or any of that stuff. Just fucking, I hope it's a loss and get to move on. But thanks everyone for coming. Thanks everyone for participating. And for the few people that actually asked questions, I appreciate it. We'll see y'all again next time. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe till we see you. Excuse me. And stay safe till we see you again.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.